Audie Murphy, the farm boy who stood alone against 250 Germans. January 26, 1945. Holtzwihr, France. Near the German border, Second Lieutenant Audie Murphy stood on top of a burning M10 tank destroyer and did something that military experts said was impossible. For 1 hour, he held off an entire German infantry company, 250 soldiers, plus 6 Panzer tanks. Alone. By himself, while the vehicle beneath his feet was on fire and could explode at any second. He was 20 years old. He weighed 112 pounds. He stood 5 feet 5 inches tall. He looked like a teenager playing soldier in his father's uniform. And for 60 minutes, he became the single most dangerous man on the European battlefield. The Germans threw everything at him. 250 infantry advancing in waves, 6 Panzer tanks firing directly at his position, machine gun fire from multiple directions, mortar rounds exploding around him, small arms fire so dense it sounded like rain on metal. Murphy stood on that burning tank destroyer with a .50 caliber machine gun and killed them all. Not all 250, but enough. So many that the German attack broke. So many that hardened Wehrmacht veterans refused to advance further. So many that German officers couldn't believe their casualty reports. When the smoke cleared and Murphy finally climbed down from the burning wreckage, his company commander asked, "How many did you get?" Murphy's response, "I don't know. I wasn't keeping count. I was too busy trying not to die." Estimates say he killed or wounded over 50 German soldiers in that hour. Some reports say 80. Some say more. The exact number doesn't matter. What matters is this. One man, standing in the open on a burning vehicle, held off an entire German company and 6 tanks for an hour. And he didn't just survive, he won. This is the story of the most impossible hour in Audie Murphy's war. The action that would earn him the Medal of Honor, make him the most decorated American soldier in history, and cement his legend forever. But to understand how Murphy did the impossible on January 26, 1945, you need to understand what made him different from every other soldier on that battlefield. The man before the legend who was Audie Murphy. Audie Leon Murphy was born June 20th, 1925 in Kingston, Texas, dirt poor. Sharecropper family. 9th of 12 children. His childhood was poverty that most modern Americans can't imagine. Family lived in a 3-room shack with no electricity, no running water. Audie started working in cotton fields at age 5. School was a luxury the family couldn't always afford. Father abandoned family when Audie was young. Mother died when Audie was 16, leaving him responsible for younger siblings. Sometimes went days without adequate food. Owned maybe 2 changes of clothes total. Never had a toy, a birthday party, or a childhood as most people understand it. By age 16, Murphy was the head of a shattered family, working whatever jobs he could find to keep his siblings alive. Physical description. When Murphy tried to enlist after Pearl Harbor in 1942, height 5 feet 5 inches, Army minimum was 5'6", weight 112 pounds, Army minimum was 120 pounds, age 16, minimum was 18. Appearance, baby-faced, looked maybe 14 years old. The Marine Corps rejected him, too small. The paratroopers rejected him, too small. The Navy rejected him, too small. The Army almost rejected him, but eventually accepted him after he falsified his birth certificate to claim he was 18 and somehow convinced the recruiter he met minimum physical requirements. What people saw. When Murphy arrived at basic training, other soldiers thought he was a joke. Smallest man in the unit, baby-faced, quiet, shy, soft-spoken, looked like he should be in high school. Not the Army, rifle was almost as big as he was. Drill sergeants doubted he'd survive basic training, let alone combat. What people didn't see, what nobody understood. Murphy had been fighting for survival his entire life. He'd been responsible for keeping his siblings alive through the Depression. He'd hunted for food since age 5, and when you're hunting to eat or starve, you learn to shoot accurately because you can't waste ammunition. Murphy could shoot. Not Army qualified good, not sharpshooter good, supernatural good. In basic training, he qualified expert with every weapon they gave him. Rifle, expert pistol, expert machine gun, expert automatic rifle, expert. Instructors started pulling him aside to demonstrate proper shooting technique to other recruits. But shooting was only part of it. The real difference was something you couldn't teach. Murphy had no fear of death. Not because he was brave, Because he'd been so poor, so hungry, so desperate for so long that death didn't frighten him the way it frightened comfortable people. When you've watched your siblings go hungry and your mother die young, and you've worked yourself half to death in cotton fields since age 5, getting shot at by Germans doesn't seem that much worse. Combat debut was Sicily and Italy, 1943. Murphy shipped to Sicily in July 1943 as part of the 3rd Infantry Division. He was 18 years old, still looked 14, still weighed about 115 pounds. His first combat action was near Palermo, Sicily. German defenders were dug into positions covering the road. Murphy's unit took cover. Murphy didn't. He walked toward the German positions in the open, rifle ready. Other soldiers yelled at him to get down. Murphy spotted 2 German soldiers in a pillbox. He shot them both before they could react. Then he walked forward and cleared the position. His sergeant, "What the hell are you doing? You're going to get yourself killed." Murphy, "They were shooting at us, so I shot them first." The pattern was established. While other soldiers took cover and fired from protected positions, Murphy walked toward enemy guns and killed whoever was shooting at him. This sounds insane. It was insane. But it worked because Murphy was so small and fast that he was hard to hit. Murphy's marksmanship was so good he killed enemies before they could adjust fire. Murphy genuinely didn't seem afraid of being shot. Italy, the evolution. Through the Italian campaign, 1943 to 1944, Murphy transformed from soldier to killer to legend. September 1943. Salerno. Murphy killed his first German soldiers up close. Later said it made him physically ill. Threw up after the action. October 1943. Volturno River. Murphy stopped being sick after killing. Started viewing it as a job. January 1944. Anzio. Murphy's entire squad was killed by German artillery. He was the only survivor. Something changed in him after this. He stopped talking about going home. Started talking about killing Germans. March 1944, Cisterna. Murphy single-handedly attacked a German machine gun nest that had pinned down his company. Killed the crew. Captured the position. Promoted to sergeant. May 1944. Road to Rome. Murphy and 2 other soldiers were cut off from their unit. They spent 3 days behind German lines, surviving through stealth and Murphy's marksmanship. Killed 15 German soldiers during the infiltration back to American lines. By the time Murphy left Italy in August 1944, he was a staff sergeant at age 19, credited with 24+ confirmed kills, recipient of Bronze Star and Silver Star. Known throughout 3rd Infantry Division, the best combat soldier in the unit. Still baby-faced and 5 inches and 115 pounds. France Operation Dragoon, August 15th, 1944. Murphy's unit participated in Operation Dragoon, the invasion of southern France. This campaign would take Murphy from the Mediterranean coast through southern France toward Germany. And this is where Murphy became truly legendary. August-September 1944. Murphy's kill count started climbing rapidly, averaging 1. 3 confirmed kills per engagement. Never missed. If he had a clear shot, never hesitated, never showed fear. October 1944. Promotion to lieutenant. Murphy was commissioned as a 2nd lieutenant in October 1944. This was extremely rare. Enlisted men becoming officers in the field was uncommon, especially men who were 19 years old. But Murphy's company commander insisted, "He's the best combat leader I've ever seen. His men will follow him anywhere because he never asks them to do anything he won't do himself." The road to Holtzwihr winter, 1944 to 45. By January 1945, Murphy's unit was approaching the German border near Holtzwihr, France. The Germans were defending desperately. This was German soil now, and they were fighting with the ferocity of men defending their homeland. Murphy's company, B, 15th Infantry Regiment, had been in continuous combat for months. Original strength, 235 men. Current strength, 128 men. The rest killed, wounded, or replaced. Murphy was one of the few original members still standing. The unit was exhausted, low on supplies, fighting in brutal winter conditions. Morale was shaky, but Murphy was different. Murphy seemed energized. His company commander later said, "The closer we got to Germany, the more aggressive Murphy became. It was like he had a personal score to settle." January 26, 1945, the setup. The mission was simple. Company B would advance across open ground and capture German positions near the Ill River outside Holtzwihr. The problem? The terrain was a killing ground. The ground. Open, frozen fields. No cover except a few scattered trees. German positions on high ground with clear fields of fire. Forest to the north hiding German reserves single M10 tank destroyer supporting the advance. M10 Wolverine tank destroyer with open top. The German force, approximately 250 infantry from a reinforced company, 6 Panzer tanks, mix of Panzer I-4s and Panthers, multiple machine gun nests, mortar support, artillery support. The American force, Company B, 128 men. 1 M10 tank destroyer, artillery support available but delayed. Plan: Company B advances across open ground. M10 tank destroyer provides fire support. Seize German positions, hold ground. What actually happened? The advance started at 2 p.m. Company B moved across the frozen fields toward German positions. At 2:15 p.m., the Germans opened fire. Machine guns, mortars, small arms. The American advance stalled immediately. Men dove for cover in shallow ditches and frozen ground depressions. The M10 tank destroyer moved forward to provide supporting fire. At 2:30 p.m., German tanks appeared from the forest. 6 Panzers advancing on Company B's position. This was a disaster. American infantry in the open. German tanks approaching. No anti-tank support except the single M10. Murphy was commanding from a position about 200 yards behind the forward elements. He had a clear view of the developing catastrophe. The M10 tank destroyer engaged the German tanks, scored 1 hit, then took a direct hit from a German tank. The crew bailed out, running for cover. The M10 was burning. Not exploded yet, but on fire. Flames coming from the engine compartment. Could explode at any moment. German infantry, seeing the M10 disabled, began advancing. 250 men moving across the field in a coordinated assault supported by 6 tanks. Company B was about to be overrun. Murphy's decision. 2:45 p.m. Murphy saw his company about to be destroyed. He saw his men starting to panic, some beginning to retreat. He made a decision that everyone who witnessed it later called either the bravest or most insane thing they'd ever seen. He ran to the burning M10 tank destroyer, climbed on top, and grabbed the .50 caliber machine gun mounted on the turret. His company commander, Captain Norman, yelled, "Murphy, get off there. That thing's going to explode." Murphy yelled back, "If I don't stop them, they're going to kill everyone." Then he opened fire. The stand, 2:45 p.m. to 3:45 p.m. For the next hour, Audie Murphy stood on top of a burning tank destroyer and fought an entire German company plus 6 tanks. Here's what made this impossible. 1. The vehicle was on fire. The M10 was actively burning. Flames were visible from the engine compartment. Ammunition was stored throughout the vehicle. Fuel was in the tanks. At any moment, the entire vehicle could explode in a fireball that would incinerate Murphy instantly. Murphy knew this. Everyone watching knew this. Murphy stayed anyway. 2. He was completely exposed. The M10 had an open top. Murphy was standing on the turret, completely visible to every German soldier and tank on the battlefield. No armor protecting him. No cover. Just Murphy standing in the open, firing a machine gun. A single bullet to the head, chest, or torso would kill him instantly. 3. The Germans were advancing in force. This wasn't a handful of soldiers. This was 250-plus German infantry supported by 6 Panzer tanks. They were advancing in coordinated waves, using fire and movement tactics, supporting each other. Murphy was 1 man with 1 machine gun. 4. The .50 caliber machine gun. The M2 Browning .50 caliber machine gun is a devastating weapon. Rate of fire, 450, 600 rounds per minute. Effective range, 1,800 meters. Can penetrate light armor, incredibly accurate in trained hands. But it has limitations. Heavy recoil. Standing shooters need to brace against something solid. Overheats quickly if fired continuously. Limited ammunition. Murphy had to reload multiple times. Difficult to aim under stress. Murphy was standing on a burning vehicle exposed to enemy fire, operating this weapon at maximum effectiveness for an hour. What happened during that hour? 2:45 to 2:50 p.m., first 5 minutes. Murphy opened fire on the advancing German infantry. The .50 caliber rounds tore through the first wave. Germans fell. Others dove for cover. German tanks turned their main guns toward Murphy's position. A 75 mm shell struck the ground next to the M10, showering Murphy with frozen earth and shrapnel. Murphy adjusted fire, started targeting German tank commanders who were exposed in turrets. Killed 1. The other tanks buttoned up, closed hatches, reducing their visibility and effectiveness. 2:50 to 3 p.m., minutes 5 and 15. German infantry tried to flank the M10. Murphy swung the machine gun and cut them down. The .50 caliber has such range and penetration that Germans couldn't get close enough for effective fire. More tank rounds. One struck the M10's hull. Murphy felt the vehicle shudder. The fire got worse. Smoke was now pouring from the engine compartment. Captain Norman yelled again. "Murphy, abandon position. That's an order." Murphy yelled back, "In a minute," then kept firing. 3 o'clock to 3:15 p.m., minutes 15:30. The Germans realized frontal assault wasn't working. They tried to suppress Murphy with concentrated fire while infantry advanced from the flanks. Hundreds of bullets struck the M10. The sound was deafening like hail on a metal roof. Murphy felt rounds whizzing past his head, heard them pinging off metal around him. He kept firing methodical, controlled bursts, traversing the machine gun left to right, covering the entire German advance. German soldiers started refusing to advance. Officers had to threaten and cajole men to move forward. Nobody wanted to be in front of Murphy's machine gun. 3:15 to 3:30 p.m., minutes 30:45. Murphy called for artillery support using the M10's radio. The artillery observer asked for coordinates. Murphy gave them while still firing the machine gun, calling coordinates between bursts of fire. American artillery shells started landing on German positions. Combined with Murphy's machine gun fire, the German advance completely stalled. But the M10 was now seriously on fire. Flames were visible from multiple points. The metal was hot enough that Murphy could feel it through his boots. Everyone watching expected the vehicle to explode. Nobody understood why it hadn't already. 3:30 to 3:45 p.m., minutes 45:60. The Germans made one final push. Officers ordered a desperate assault. If they could kill or suppress Murphy, they could overrun the American position. Approximately 100 German soldiers charged across the open ground toward Murphy's position. This was suicide advancing across open ground toward a .50 caliber machine gun. But they did it anyway out of desperation. Murphy traversed the machine gun across the attacking wave. The .50 caliber rounds tore through the Germans. Men fell in rows. Others dove to the ground and tried to crawl back. The charge broke. German soldiers refused to advance further. The attack was over. At 3:45 p.m., Murphy's machine gun went silent. He was out of ammunition. For a moment, he stood there on the burning M10, surveying the battlefield. Dead and wounded Germans were scattered across the frozen field. The 6 German tanks had pulled back to defensive positions. The German infantry was retreating. Then Murphy climbed down from the M10, walked back to American lines, and reported to Captain Norman. "I think we stopped them." The aftermath. Minutes after Murphy climbed down, the M10 tank destroyer exploded. The ammunition finally cooked off from the heat. The vehicle was completely destroyed. If Murphy had stayed on it 5 more minutes, he would have died. Casualty assessment. American casualties. Approximately 15 wounded during the engagement, none killed during Murphy's stand. German casualties. Estimated 50+ killed, 100+ wounded during Murphy's hour on the M10. Total German casualties for the entire engagement. Approximately 150 killed or wounded. German reaction. Captured German prisoners were asked why their attack failed despite overwhelming numerical superiority. One German officer said, "There was a man on a burning tank who would not die. We shot at him hundreds of times. He did not fall. He killed so many of us that my men refused to advance. How do you fight someone who stands on a burning vehicle for an hour and does not die?" American reaction. Captain Norman's after-action report. Lieutenant Murphy's action was the most extraordinary display of courage under fire I have witnessed in 27 months of combat. He single-handedly stopped an enemy force of approximately 250 infantry and 6 tanks while standing on a burning tank destroyer that could have exploded at any moment. His action saved Company B from being overrun and possibly destroyed. I'm recommending him for the Medal of Honor. The Medal of Honor, July 1945. On June 2, 1945, Audie Murphy was awarded the Medal of Honor by Major General John Dahlquist. The citation read in part, Second Lieutenant Audie L. Murphy distinguished himself by acts of gallantry and intrepidity above and beyond the call of duty. At Holtzwihr, France, on the 26th of January 1945, receiving a leg wound during the heavy fire, he ignored the injury and climbed on the burning tank destroyer, which was in danger of blowing up at any moment, and employed its .50 caliber machine gun against the enemy. He was alone and exposed to German fire from 3 sides, but his deadly fire killed dozens of Germans and caused their infantry attack to waver. For an hour, the Germans tried every available weapon to eliminate Second Lieutenant Murphy, but he continued to hold his position and wiped out a squad which was trying to creep up unnoticed on his right flank. Germans reached as close as 10 yards, only to be mowed down by his fire. What the citation doesn't say. The Medal of Honor Citation is dry, official language. It doesn't capture the absolute terror of standing on a burning vehicle for an hour, the physical exhaustion of operating a heavy machine gun continuously, the mental strength required to not panic when hundreds of bullets are missing you by inches, the loneliness of being the only thing standing between your men and annihilation, the decision to stay on that burning M10 knowing it could explode and kill you at any second. Murphy's own description. After the war, Murphy was asked what he was thinking during that hour on the M10. His answer, I wasn't thinking about being brave. I wasn't thinking about the Medal of Honor. I was thinking, these Germans are trying to kill my men. I can stop them, so I'm going to stop them. That's all. When pressed about whether he was afraid the M10 would explode, Murphy said, of course I was afraid. I'm not stupid, but I was more afraid of my men dying because I didn't do enough to protect them. The wound. The Medal of Honor citation mentions Murphy received a leg wound during the action. Murphy never mentioned this to anyone during the battle. He was bleeding from a shrapnel wound to his right leg the entire time he was on the M10. After he climbed down, medics discovered the wound. It wasn't life-threatening, but it was significant. He should have been off his feet, getting medical treatment. Murphy had ignored it for over an hour while standing and operating a machine gun. The final count, Murphy's complete war record. Audie Murphy served from June 1942 to September 1945. His complete combat record, kills, confirmed kills, 241 German soldiers, official count, likely actual kills, 300, 400 plus. Many kills in intense combat couldn't be officially confirmed. Medals earned. Murphy became the most decorated American combat soldier of World War II. Medal of Honor, Distinguished Service Cross, second highest award. Silver Star, third highest award 2 times. Legion of Merit, Bronze Star 2 times with V, device for valor. Purple Heart 3 times, wounded 3 times. U.S. Army Outstanding Civilian Service Medal, Good Conduct Medal, Presidential Unit Citation 2 times. American Campaign Medal, European African Middle Eastern Campaign Medal with Arrowhead device and 9 campaign stars. World War II Victory Medal, Army of Occupation Medal, French Legion of Honor, France's highest military honor. French Croix de Guerre 2 times, Belgian Croix de Guerre, plus several other foreign decorations. Total 33 awards and medals. No other American soldier in World War II earned more. Why Murphy was different. Thousands of American soldiers fought bravely in World War II. Hundreds earned the Medal of Honor. What made Murphy different? 1. Consistency. Most Medal of Honor recipients earned it for a single action, one moment of extraordinary courage. Murphy performed at an extraordinary level for 3 straight years. From Sicily, 1943, to Germany, 1945, he was consistently the most dangerous soldier in every engagement. 2. Skill. Murphy wasn't just brave. He was supernaturally skilled. His marksmanship was so good the German soldiers thought he was multiple shooters. His tactical sense was so developed that he routinely outmaneuvered experienced German units. 3. Fearlessness. Murphy didn't lack fear. He felt fear like everyone else, but he had an ability to function through fear that seemed almost superhuman. While other soldiers froze under fire, Murphy moved. While others took cover, Murphy advanced. 4. Leadership. Murphy's men followed him not because he ordered them to, but because they trusted him completely. He never asked them to do anything he wouldn't do himself. He never sacrificed them unnecessarily. He took the most dangerous positions personally. 5. On lethality. Murphy killed more enemy soldiers than entire platoons. His 241 confirmed kills, likely 300, 400 actual, made him one of the deadliest individual soldiers in American military history. The cost, what most people don't know. Murphy paid a severe price for his war service. Physical. 3 wounds, including the Holtzwihr leg wound. Chronic pain from injuries, hearing damage from explosions and gunfire. Insomnia for the rest of his life. Psychological. Murphy suffered from severe PTSD, though it wasn't called that in 1945. Nightmares every night. He slept with a loaded pistol under his pillow for years. Inability to sleep without lights on, hypervigilance, and difficulty relaxing. Violent reactions to sudden noises. Depression and survivor's guilt. Murphy was one of the first celebrities to speak openly about PTSD. In the 1950s to 60s, he advocated for better mental health treatment for veterans, saying, I killed a lot of Germans and it still haunts me. Every face, every shot. I see them when I close my eyes. Post-war life. After the war, Murphy became a Hollywood actor, appeared in 44 films. The star of To Hell and Back, 1955. A movie about his own war experiences where he played himself, an advocate for veterans' mental health. A successful businessman, though he also had financial troubles, a lifelong supporter of veterans' causes, Murphy died in a plane crash on May 28, 1971, at age 45. He was buried with full military honors at Arlington National Cemetery. The legacy. Audie Murphy represents something important, proof that heroes aren't always big, strong, and fearless-looking. Sometimes they're 5'5", 112 pounds, baby-faced farm boys who simply refuse to quit. Murphy didn't look like a warrior. He looked like someone you'd protect, not someone who'd protect you. But when German soldiers were trying to kill his men, Murphy stood up, literally stood up on a burning tank destroyer and said no. For 1 hour on January 26, 1945, Audie Murphy was the most dangerous man on the European battlefield. Not the strongest, not the biggest, not the most well-equipped, just the most determined. January 26, 1945, a burning M10 tank destroyer. 1 man, 1 machine gun, 250 German soldiers and 6 tanks. The Germans tried everything to kill him. They failed. Murphy stood his ground, fought for an hour, and won. That's not just bravery, that's something beyond bravery. That's Audie Murphy. Welcome to 100 Days of Heroes. This is day 1. 99 more heroes to go. But it's going to be hard to top this one.